So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our video of Mars in the 11th house in the sign of Gemini for Leo ascendant people, as in what happens when Mars sits in the 11th house in Gemini, while it rules the 4th and 11th house. And as always, if you do not know if you have this particular position, what sign it's in, what nakshatra it's in, along with all your astrological details, check out the links here, KRSastrology.com, where you'll find my full astrological report, including my books, consultations, and the link to my academy, Vedic Astrology Academy. And also my new option 18 of matchmaking, but please read the details carefully. Okay. So, Mars in the 11th house in Gemini. So, one thing, first of all, we see that Mars naturally is in the 11th house in Gemini. And one thing you will see, in your lifetime, you're going to make friends, an acquaintance with somebody who's going to be either somebody in military, being a police officer, being a person who's a protector, including even any person who has to wear a uniform for their work. You're going to somehow make a connection with this person and gain tremendously from that person. And the gain, because of course 11th house is a house of gains, but also Mars is actually quite a powerful planet for Leo ascendant. It becomes a yoga karaka. And we also see that especially if you have an elder sibling, okay, even a younger sibling, if it's an elder sibling, parental property will go to the elder sibling. If it's a younger brother, not sister, if it's a younger brother, they too will either get the parental property or you yourself will give them the parental property. And because Mars goes into the sign of Gemini, naturally it will show a very strong communication pattern by your elder sibling, by your co-workers, by your professional network circles. But here, one thing that Mars does, okay, because it's in the 11th house and then it aspects the second of wealth, money, fifth of speculation. So you will see that this person at one point in their life will be making money through quick decisions, fast decisions. Like, for example, speculative gain, stock market, cryptocurrency, sports betting. And then we also see, because Mars is also the 9th Lord in the 11th house, father would have greatly benefited through the younger brother. Now, if Mercury comes into play, then it may not be the same thing. Or especially, let's say, Sun, Mercury, and Mars are in this particular placement, with Sun being the highest degree, then it may not have that same conclusion. But it also shows that a father would gain through the help of the younger sibling. And also, your father's younger sibling most definitely would somehow be either an engineer or person who is a scientist, has to wear a uniform, or even a police officer. Then Mars being the 4th Lord in the 11th house. So on one side, we saw that Mars can have you give away the property to the elder sibling. But on the other hand, because Gemini represents the sign of self-efforts, right? It's 3rd house. The original 3rd house is a house of self-efforts. And here you will see that a person will gain their property and home through their self-efforts. And most definitely, usually, even nowadays, it's quite common where a person will build their home. And if Saturn, let's say, is somehow connected with Mars, definitely one is going to be constructing a home. Because just this position can give a inclination towards constructing a property. Why is that? Because this is the original house of Saturn. And it's also the sign which is originally co-ruled by Saturn and Rahu, which is Aquarius. But so Gemini is on the foundation of Aquarius, and on top of that is Mars. So also we see that in your life that your energy is always going to be inclined towards wanting to give yourself into social work. Want to give yourself in social work and fight for certain type of causes, especially for society. Why? Because Mars' 8th aspect goes into the 6th house. So 8th aspect represents the aspect of transformation. Like somehow that 8th aspect you're trying to change. That's why you're here. You're here to make a change to that. And so because 6th house represents unprivileged people, people who are in debt, people who are suffering, Mars wants to make a change to that. And at the same time, because Mars' aspect is on the 6th house, the 8th aspect, this is one of the positions where whatever debts you have, they'll be paid off one way or the other. Whether through marriage you pay these debts off, whether through inheritance you pay these debts off, whether even through filing Chapter 11 you pay this debt off, you will clear those debts off. Always, that's one support you will always have, is to clearing the debts off, no matter how big the debts are. There's always going to be solution provided, because 8th aspect is always churning something. It's always transforming something. So if you have debt, I'm sorry, but that debt has to be transformed. It has to change into something. It has to dissolve. So it is going to be dissolved. And the same thing is also with the enemies of all kinds, whether it's enemy who actually want to physically harm you, mentally harm you, psychologically harm you, professionally, they become competitors. So that means they're trying to harm your business or your work. Regardless, you always will overcome them. And Mars in Gemini actually becomes very good, in the 11th house in gaining, because again, 11th house is gain, right? Gaining knowledge of some type of weaponry. Now, in some cases I've seen, like people who become very good at journalism and writing. What happens with journalism and writing? Writing, you use a pen. Even though you may be using a keyboard, fine. That can also be a weapon. Keyboard, pen becomes a weapon to report something, to change something, to win over something. So what is it? So if you look at journalists simply wants to report something which is happening so there can be a change. Now I'm talking about real journalists, not people who are chasing clout, not people who are actually wanting some story to come up so they can chase after it or manipulate the story. That's not journalism. That's pretty much kind of being a paparazzi for the clicks and likes. So there's a big difference is that in actual real journalism and these other things that we now see daily or every second on social media. And because Mars looks at the 5th house, we naturally see that this person is going to somehow attain a technical education. There are going to be technically skills, whether it's information technology, because of Gemini's information, skilled in communications, marketing, but they have to have a technical knowledge. Technical skill is going to be part. It's the permanent yoga in the birth chart. That skill is going to have to be used somehow, some way. You're going to be attaining that skill. And that skill actually is going to help you gain. So again, Mars is in the 11th house of gains. And remember, malefic planet in Upacha houses, 3, 6, 10, and 11, naturally always do better with time. So early in life, they could get one result, but then later on, especially after 28th year, when Mars matures, they give far, far better results. Now, those results can be good or bad, depending upon what your intentions are. If your intention is to become an IAS officer, okay, you become an IAS officer. Your intention is to become a underworld criminal, well, you become that. So intentions is what differs, but you can't put a label, well, it's good or bad. Because depending upon how the person grew up, their consciousness is completely different. They don't look at this as bad, they look at it as good, while you look at it as bad. It's kind of like saying, is baseball better than cricket? You talk to people here in the US, they're going to love only baseball. And they'll find all criticism with cricket. You go in India, they'll do anything for cricket and they have no idea even about baseball. Maybe now they do. That's how these things become. Okay. So anyway, guys, this is my analysis of Mars and the 11,000 Gemini for Leo Ascendant people. Again, if you're new to my channel, subscribe below so you don't miss this type of videos. So you want to know where your Mars is placed along with all your astrological details, check out the links here. Otherwise, we'll see you here. Bye-bye.